It is April 22nd right now, and I have about 3 weeks to get a lot of work done for the show that I'm doing on May 24th and 25th in Singapore. So I used to live in this apartment building over here, like the 3rd floor, and it was like a 1-bedroom apartment that I lived in with my mom for like fucking years. Like, till I was 18, we stayed in this apartment. But this is just all, you know, it just reminds me of like being home. I had some trouble adjusting in school. And I wouldn't speak in class, and like, they almost like failed me a couple times. I just didn't talk. I didn't say anything. And when you don't speak in school, man, they say like, oh, he's slow. You know what I mean? Like, right. That's how school deals with that right there. Like, oh, you're not talking? Slow bus, you know what I mean? You just get put in that category. Mental health and mental illness within the community I'm from is very hush-hush and taboo, and people don't speak about it as much.
And I think that's quite global around the world. There is that stigma.
We have a habit in our society treating things once it becomes an issue. That's what pills and all that stuff comes in, right? Like, so now you have to do something. Mental health, it was always this backlining fear for me.
I didn't think I was smart because the people around me told me I wasn't smart. So it was always this like, are you okay? You're not dumb, are you? You know what I mean? Like, but it wasn't today that we had an art room and like space for like art to be in. You coming up and you have like a dedicated art class and some dedicated structure. You can go there at lunchtime, stuff like that. That was cool. That was really cool for me. When you look at my early sketches, I was looking at some of them today. Some of them was in the basement. But it's this old moldy newsprint sketchbook. And I was looking at it and I'm like, damn, I don't know how I got to where I am now. Because this shit sucks. You know what I mean? Like, those early moments, I had no idea would lead to this stuff. There was a huge amount of time in high school where I didn't draw at all. Like, I didn't make any art. Because I was just kind of like trying to find myself. I was depressed. I was feeling a lot of things, you know? I was always putting painting off. I put painting off for years, man. And I was scared. I was like kind of afraid to explore the new medium and what it would mean if I messed up. It just seemed so involved and like so much would have to be invested. And then I realized my thought process was impacted by what I was surrounded by. I mean, I was probably on like this 5-block radius. Like, that was my reality at this time in my life. Being raised on the south side of Chicago, the narrative you hear about that stuff is just like, it's not positive, it's always negative.
The rate of murders in the city of Chicago is absolutely dramatic. How much worse is it this year than last?
What we need is an elevated presence of law enforcement. These people are living literally in war zones.
It's not valueless because it's like bad stuff that goes on in those places. I mean, if those places make some of the strongest people in the world, and all you see is like crime in the city, or negativity, you know, that's all it's gonna be. That's the conversation I wanna have with people, and an awareness of like our abilities to literally create the future.
The arts are essential. They teach students invaluable lessons, like practice makes perfect, that small differences can have large effects, and that collaboration leads to creativity.
The power exists within the community, within the people. And it don't exist downtown in the high rises waiting for somebody to give you the okay.
Everybody and their mama knows about what's going on in Chicago. It's constantly talked about, but we're about to enhance the conversation. There we go.
You know, we looking for justice in other places. That's a justice, us doing it. If you continue to work on your craft and what you do, you will find a way to create the future that you're designing for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, people will give you every reason to like want to not do some shit, but you just can't listen to them. These different projects that have made the most difference in my career, I think the main thing about them has been like the emotional connection in the work. Of course, the Chance covers has everything to do with the music. The music and the art, they complement themselves. They feel like they fit in the same space with one another. Started submitting work to magazines, so I got in a couple of issues of Complex. One of these classic Kanye covers during the Graduation album. I had an illustration in that magazine, so I was like hyped about that. So, you know, those things kind of boost you up a little bit. And looking at those sketches today, it was like, wow, this was before any of that. I'm in that space right now. It's like, okay, cool, don't celebrate too much. It's not over, just keep going. I feel like I'm at that point in the process, I'm feeling like I'm underestimating the time it's actually gonna take me to do things. So I'm trying to be very sensitive and careful about that. At this point, it's like everything that needs to be done, it just all is running together. I'm in that phase that like, just looking at these things that I've been raised around, these objects and these spaces, and putting a focus on those places instead of them sort of being like background that you don't want to see or places you don't want to go. Even putting it on the canvas, I feel like it's transformational. That's what this collection of work is, that just kind of reminders of the things like you first loved in your life. One more staple and we are done. All right. Sorry that shit took me so long. God.
Party in Singapore, it reminds me of Chicago because they playing like house music.
Tuxedo Gallery. Tonight.
I'm from the south side of Chicago. We came here today specifically just to give you a small glimpse of where we come from.
What's up, Singapore? How y'all doing?
All right, so my name is Brandon Breaux. My job is to really speak about the Chicago that I know, to show another perspective of what's going on, right?
The Singapore trip, a lot of people were asking, well, why did you come here? You know, because I think in their minds, like they're behind on a lot of culture.
You know, I really wanted to be able to have this conversation with myself and also with an audience about how our environments are so much a part of our identities in ways I feel like I constantly discover.
You like dousing yourself in the water and like really being there and having the experience and not having it being left to your assumptions that you've gathered based on what you think you know.
My father was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia 2 days before I was born. And he ended up having an episode where he came home and he took his father's life. It changed the course of everything that happened for me in my life. And I didn't know that story until I was well into my 20s.
You can like clearly tell that the people there were made of a lot of different things and weren't making associations of judgment based on like who I showed up as. And I don't think I've seen that in another place. The diversity there is different than here. I think we talk about diversity a lot in America and like we like try to sell the idea of diversity, but we don't really mean that shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, as long as you over there, you know, it's like, whole trip. I learned a lot from it. You know, I learned a lot more what I want to bring to my practice. And I want to explore a deeper emotional connection in the work, even more, because I know that exists, right? People around the world are dealing with the same stuff. Trying to identify themselves, how you find fulfillment in life, really trying to make a mark in these crazy cities where, you know, you feel like you're drowning sometimes. We have being human in common.